Hello, it's Rhonda Thomas, and we're ready to do Mickey the Beagle. I'm sorry, let me start over. Chapter 5's Xafra Cyber. Xafra Cyber. I am not to do every little thing for you in this, but let me go through a few things and make sure you're on the right track at least. So I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I'm in Connect, and the first question that we have is about putting in uh, a new customer, right? So we're actually putting in Mookie the Beagle Concierge as a customer of Xafra Cyber, just like Xafra Cyber is a customer of Mookie the Beagle. Okay, so I'm going to show you that, and there's the information to put it in. This is also found on his starting on 289, 290 in the ebook. Okay, so I guess if I need to open the ebook, I can. So just in case, to make sure there's something I want you to see. So let's see, we're going to 289. Okay, did all the Wookie the Beagle. Now we're on Xafra Cyber. Here we are. So we're going to set up this new customer here and create a project. And then we're going to put in some information about a sales receipt. Okay, so let me show you what I have. I am in my QuickBooks. I'm going to refresh. I'm in Xafra Cyber. I don't like to switch between companies when I have QuickBooks open because I have found that sometimes it doesn't work as well. So I go into each company. I log out of QuickBooks Online and log back in to get in. Now, whether you do that or not, that's up to you. But it seems like every time I do that, something gets wonky. So you do whatever works for you, but don't be surprised if you have to do that. All right, so here is Mookie the Beagle Concierge as a customer of Xafra Cyber. And if you want to look at what I put in for the information, like I said, all phones are mobile phones now, it looks like. So that's fine. That's the way it should be, to follow the current trend of what's going on today. All right. And then created a project. I created a project called Support and Maintenance, I believe. If not, then I need to create one. Yes. Support and Maintenance. And this is going to be for Mookie the Beagle, because I have one. So if I wanted to edit it, I could. There's the input screen for a project. And I went, it also ended up with the information I had put in as the address. So I'm going to click Save. There's the project. And now I'm going to go to the, okay, so then new. All right, we're going to do a sales receipt. So create, sorry, I get used to seeing create sales receipt. Okay, sales receipt. And then this is going to be for Mookie the Beagle Concierge Support and Maintenance. So choose a customer. Yep, there it is. That's the one you'll choose. The sales date is 1/14/2025. Check number 3033. So now let me go get that to show you what it looks like. Okay, and then I'm not going to show you much else. Okay, I'm not going to show you much else because you need to put in the amount, and then you need to make sure that that's the amount of the sales receipt is 6 hours of that support with a rate of 120. So of course you would want to multiply 120 times 6 to get that sales receipt. There it is. So yes, I'm showing it to you a little bit here, but to try to help you a little along the way. All right. So once again, the things that we do in the chapter, step by step together for Mookie the Beagle Concierge, then we would kind of repeat those and not as many steps either. So if you want to see the transaction journal, there it is. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and make sure you've caught everything that you need to be doing. And then I'm going to give you the general ledger balances at the end on page 294. Just make sure you balance to them. Right, there's the sales receipt transaction journal, and I didn't have to switch to classic view. Okay, so it's still working, whether modern or classic. If you don't see both, switch it to the other view and see if that one's working. Okay. All right, after that sales receipt, then we're going to do an invoice, and then we add another customer here. So I'm going to go back to home. Okay, and I want to add another customer before doing an invoice. Okay, and this one has 3 different services that they're invoicing a customer called William LLC. Okay, William LLC, and they're also going to make a project for William LLC called Support and Maintenance. So I have him there. Or yeah, and then I did create the invoice. Okay, so I want to make sure that I don't. So there are actually 2 invoices that you create. Let me see here, just a minute. I want to make sure that it looks like we have an invoice on the 14th. Okay. To make sure that I have this incorrect. 720, and then the other one on the 14th. Okay, let me check something while you're watching. Okay, I want to make sure that I have not put in a duplicate or in on the wrong one. Okay, because sometimes that happens. So I did find the sales receipt for Mookie the Beagle Concierge, but now I want to make sure. Okay, so this was an invoice 19. Okay, so I believe, and so then this next one should be 114. I think I need to change the invoice date on this one. Yep, I do. So here's how, and this is how you would audit. Okay, you want to make sure your dates are right, and you want to make sure your amounts are correct. Okay, so that was showing as the 14th. Okay, when the invoice date should be the 18th. So here's how I audit. Okay, you go back in and you say, is this date right? Is this amount right? So now I'm going to save it. Okay, so this is going to be the invoice. It's going to 10 hours of support services, 15 hours of maintenance services, 10 or 9 hours of cybersecurity assessment, William LLC, and then you produce, it is the $4,020. That is correct, but I had the date wrong. So you need to highlight all dates. I try to highlight all the dates every time to put something in. Any date should get a highlight. That's why it's nice to have paper copy. Okay, so then the next one is going to be an invoice to Odin, and this is a new customer. So I'm going to close this invoice and go to customers and back to the customer list. There is Odin Enterprises. Okay, and you would create a new invoice. for the 19th, which I believe I have here. Okay, yes. And there are 40 SWAT 1s and 30 SWAT 2s, and one is $200 each, and one is $300 each. So this ends up being a pretty hefty invoice. Yes. And then when we're going to receive a payment on this invoice, okay, you're going to receive a payment, and I believe I have, yes. And that payment is supposed to be on 1/20/25, and the payment goes to that payments to deposit 1600 account. Make sure, and it was a check. Make sure you have that. Okay, and then you would pick the invoice. All right, record and close, and then the final one is a bank deposit. Okay, a bank deposit and receipt from Odin. So there is my bank deposit. The deposit is actually on the 22nd, so I want to fix that as well. So let me go in and fix. So edit and view. Okay, and then change it to the 22nd to match the date that the book is saying. Okay, and then more for your transaction journal. So there are 2 dates that I'm glad I went back through and looked at. Now, those dates may not have affected my general account, but it very well can. And dates and amounts are so important. All right, so now I'm going to let you go through this. The sales receipt, that was the first one. Then Xafra Cyber with William LLC with a new project. We did an invoice, okay, on the 18th. Then we have Odin Enterprises. We put that customer in, and an invoice goes to them, okay. And then we're going to accept a payment from that invoice we just did, okay. And then we will deposit that payment into the bank so that we know that we took it to the bank, right? Once we take it to the bank, and then whoever's taking it to the bank should be giving the accountant the bank receipt showing it was deposited. And that should be attached or something to verify that, yes, that deposit took place. Once again, accounting must have backup to everything that they're putting into the accounting books. If you cannot back it up with something, then you might as well not put it in, because it takes a paper trail, okay, to prove it. Even an email or hacking slip or a copy of the check that the person, well, it needs to actually be shown that it's gone to the bank. So that part of it's crucial too. Okay, here's the last piece that I'm going to give you. And I'm giving you these so that you can make sure that you balance to them. Okay, so these are the amounts that you can expect. And I'm going to put them in and make sure I'm correct too. Okay, so with just a moment here, and then we'll be moving on to chapter 6. So hold on just a moment. Okay, so we have for our checking balance, and that is a very crucial one to make sure you're following it, the checking account. All right, 39,620. and 7,320 in accounts receivable. We have a zero balance in that payment to deposit account. And then we have a sales account of $25,040. Okay, so that should be what you get if you've put everything in correctly. If you haven't, then you need to go back and do just what I did. You need to go back and look for the dates. You need to go back and make sure you have the right amounts. Make sure you don't have duplicates. Make sure all of your invoices and sales receipts and transactions come to the amount. And because I have the physical book, I write these amounts down in the book so that I remember that, okay, that's what it's supposed to be. All right. Even though I have access to the answers anytime I want, I'm just trying to tell you that I do this too, not only to try to guide you, but to also verify that the author is at least coming up with something I can agree with too. I'm not saying I don't make mistakes, because I do. And mistakes oftentimes is where we learn the biggest lessons. Trust me. So anyway, all right, we'll be moving on to chapter 6 next. Okay, thank you for the hard work.